You're listening to the Nerd to Know Media Network. Join us at nerdtoknowmedia.com.
Broadcasting from the Blanchistan Center, this is Phoenix FM.
The internet is a communications tool used the world over where people can come together to bitch about movies.
According to the Nerd Index, you should be upside down in a junior high toilet around the clock.
This is we're doing live. Time goes in, time goes out. Never miscommunication.
It's over 9,000. My name is Foxy.
The balls are in there. Do a barrel roll. Don't chase me, bro. It's a trap. I'm a firing money. Time to Hey, Charlie, wake up. Oh, God, oh, man.
Hello, and welcome to this week's edition of the Nerd to Know Basis Show, airing on Phoenix 92.5 FM and all those other wonderful places on the internet like Spotify and our website. But of course, you know that because you can hear this. My name's Cian, and with me this week is Kev.
Yes, you have found us using the treasure maps I have hidden masterfully around the Blanchardstown Shopping Centre.
That's just it. Unless
in my
you were looking to tune
Riddler-esque
into something else and got us by accident, you've probably found us. And even so, if it's the airwaves, kind of more impressive, if we're being honest.
Yes, you solved me these riddles 3. And now you can listen to our podcast. How are you doing, Cian?
Oh, I am good because Doctor Who is back along with lots of other things I like right now. And it's nearly Christmas, so eventually I will get in the headspace for that. How about you?
Good. I'm most of the way into a Christmas headspace. I haven't watched Muppets Christmas Carol just yet, but I could definitely tell I'm on the verge of watching Michael Caine give the performance of his lifetime to a puppet.
That's just it. Yeah. We've already done Muppets Treasure Island to warm up for it.
Yeah.
So we're getting there eventually.
But in a not so Christmassy movie, I've caught one of those new flicks in the cinema. In the movie theater. New film.
And not a Marvel thing or anything.
They're still making these new films, you know.
Whoa, what a notion. It's not a Disney remake. It's not a horror movie with some weird pun in the title.
No, but we're building it up like it's an indie art house film. No, I went to see the new Hunger Games movie, the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes.
Well, I know nothing about it. It could be an indie darling for all I know.
No, like it is. I think it is. It is a cool kind of a standalone kind of franchise in its own right, but it is still, multi-million-dollar franchise. Let's not. But
yeah, because I remember, like, not to get too anecdotal, but I remember the books coming into Eason's, the Song of Snakes and such, or whatever it is. Okay, what's the proper name for it, Kev?
The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes.
Thank you. And I remember it not really selling that much, at least in our branch of Eason's. Is this like a much hyped thing? Is this something that people have been counting the minutes till it comes out? Or
I don't think so. I don't think it had it's definitely carrying off the initial hype from the old Hunger Games movies. What it is a prequel. And to be honest, when I heard the premise, I probably would have also not given a lick about it, because it's a prequel about President Snow, the tyrannical dictator president from the original Hunger Games.
The Donald Sutherland character.
Donald Sutherland, yeah.
Right.
And when I heard that, I was like, do we really need a backstory movie for the tyrant?
Right.
My shock and all when this actually is a quite good movie.
Okay. All right. Well, like, I know you've set up that it's like a President Snow, but give us like the basic premise of like what's going on in the start of the story.
For the most part, like, as much as it is just kind of a character story of the early life of Coriolanus Snow, kind of a very...
What's his name? Coriolanus, that's hilarious.
It is, yeah.
Like, don't get me wrong, I love the Hunger Games trilogy. Like, you know my kid's name, but like, but wow. That's like calling him Maximilian or something like that. You know?
That's it's they kind of it's they build it as a sort of rags to riches, except he comes from a fallen like capital house.
Right. So kind of like a mobster movie setup almost.
Sort of. He's basically he comes from a family like during the war, because that's kind of how early back we are. Like he was a child when the war that started the Hunger Games, the revolution was about, and it was in that his dad died. Thus, like his whole family basically lost all their money, and they've just been pretending to be wealthy. But he's been putting on his airs to try and get through the school to get a grant that would basically refirm his family's lineage, because the kid, obviously he's a child prodigy, a masterful, a master genius extraordinaire. And by this point, the Hunger Games as a concept in this world has started, but is still early. It's still fundamentally just...
Okay, so he doesn't create the Hunger Games.
No. The Hunger Games have already been around.
Right. Do the 13 districts exist then?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, in the same way where each district is very much kind of like for the production of like a certain resource.
Right.
But the Hunger Games are very rudimentary at this point. They're basically just put a bunch of people in a room and have at each other.
It's not like the Star Trek holodeck.
No.
Fancy gadgets.
Which that's another fun. That's one kind of really fun aspect about this is watching them kind of backtrack from that hyper futuristic technology of what we know the Hunger Games to a very retros 50 aesthetic.
Okay.
For this kind of 70 years earlier. So everything's very retro post-war tube television. It adds a very distinctive flair.
Okay.
That I kind of enjoyed. And what this movie though introduces is that Snow is in the first class of capital students.
Right. So he is actually in the Hunger Games.
No, this is the first class that are assigned as mentors.
Oh, okay.
Up until this point, it's just a bunch of people thrown in a room and told to kill each other. This is the first time where they've been given mentors and to perform in a way. All of which, like, it's a decent movie that's carried by some very strong performances across the board. Particularly, absolutely, the showstopper is Viola Davis. I can't remember her character's name.
I know nothing about anyone who's in this, so I must confess.
No, I can't remember the character's name, but she's basically the game maker.
Right.
Who has to think up crazy ideas to keep the populace watching the Hunger Games. And they went full, like, dial to 11 on how do we make this woman look as crazy as possible. Everything to the hair going out every direction, to the one milky eye, to the just two red lipstick, to a lab outfit that just looks like she has been sprayed in blood. It's way beyond extra, and it's fantastic. And so the movie kind of then basically follows the relationship between Snow and I can't remember the girl's name, but basically his contestant in the Hunger Games. The Songbird, as she'd be called, because she's a very, very lithe, very
Snow the snake.
Yes.
Right. Okay.
And the movie kind of develops. The Hunger Games itself happens. There's a sequence where they're both outside of the capital, kind of dealing in one or two of the districts themselves. I won't give away the whole plot,
right?
But it's brought me back to, like, I don't think about them often, but I do remember. It reminded me how much I actually really did like the Hunger Games movies.
Yeah, the fact that they split book 3 into 2 films really stopped it becoming this solid trilogy that people could go back to, you know?
But even then, like, it's because I think we when we think of it, I think I speak for a lot of people when I say that, like, we kind of remember just that deluge of YA death game.
Yeah.
That kind of came in, like
Maze Runners and all that, yeah.
Yeah.
And like it one of those as well.
Yeah, and like it kind of just got folded into them where there was a lot of homogeny. When you kind of go back to it and remember, like, it was kind of the progenitor of all that. And
yeah, like
for
the
good
book
reason.
was, like, solid. It's that book series is one of the only book series where I've read an entire book in one night. I don't usually do that, but I did it for Hunger Games. And then the films, until they became too dour, really doubled down on the kind of grounded aspects of it. Like,
yeah, like I can't remember the last time a sequel bait cliffhanger had me wanting the next movie more than the end of Catching Fire, when she gets like airlifted out and you find out that Philip Seymour Hoffman was actually part of the revolution.
Yeah.
And I like that movie. The movie felt like it had only been running for like 20 minutes and I needed more now.
That's right. That film was a rush. Yeah.
So like, no, I think they should be given more credit than I think they're due in hindsight.
Yeah, if someone like I said, if someone edits movies 3 and 4 together into like 1 2.5 hour movie, I'd say I would blast through that trilogy in an evening, I suspect.
But yeah, and I would say otherwise as well, if you're new to all of this and you've heard about the Hunger Games and you think that's an interesting idea, I would actually say check out Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. It being a prequel, you can jump in sight unseen.
So, well, actually, you kind of beat me to it then. So this would appeal to people who may not have seen the original or may not remember it.
Yeah, absolutely. Like it makes reference. It definitely, I think it relies somewhat on the world building having already been pre-established, but like they're not concepts you can't get your head around if you keep aware of it. No, I think like solid movie, solid movie, solid standalone. And if you like it, then you have 4 more to go to. And like truly a solid kind of movie to round out the year.
Okay, I'm
major box
surprised
office
by that
productions.
because, like you said, I never saw the rip-off, spin-offs, whatever. But you're right. They did kind of sanitize the whole thing. And I think maybe with Divergent, they just never finished it.
Very likely.
Making movies.
I'll have to.
Don't quote me on this, but I don't think it was Maze Runner, because I feel like there was like 5 Maze Runner films. But certainly one of them just stopped.
I could fact check this with Louise because I know she did like the Maze Runner movies.
Oh, yeah?
So she'll probably know if there was more of it.
If she wanders through the room, just get her to shout.
I'll catch her. I'll get her to catch her. But yeah, no, I think, for what has been a very good year for movies, something I think we could possibly get into in a later episode closer to the end of the year. I think, it's what I think is probably going to be the last big blockbuster before January. Not to say it's the last big movie, because I've got one big red mark on my radar for December 27th, and that's The Boy and the Heron. Have you not heard about this? Okay. No, The Boy and the new Hayao Miyazaki movie, Kian.
Oh, that's out then, is it?
December 27th. I am so ready for it.
Probably going to wait
going
for the
Both are coming out the same day.
You piqued my interest.
There you go. I'll probably have to go to see it twice for each.
Invite me to at least one of those 2 times.
Because, like, by all accounts, I've tried to avoid as much as possible. By all accounts, Robert Pattinson is fantastic.
Carrying on the tradition of Batman actors in Studio Ghibli's being unexpectedly good voice actors, yes.
Yeah. Speaking of, I suppose actually while we're on the topic of kind of Hollywood actors giving surprisingly good.
I'm actually counting up the Batman actors who've all done Studio Ghibli and stuff. I'm up to at least 3.
They did get Killian. They did get Christian Bale back for this one.
Brilliant. There you go.
But yeah, speaking of Hollywood actors giving surprisingly good voiceover performances, have you watched Scott Pilgrim Takes Off?
Okay, all right. We've both seen this. I remember the trailers coming out making a big fuss about all the original voice actors being back and the animation looking nice, but I wasn't ready for what this show actually was? Like, what were your expectations going into this?
Zero. I went in without having seen really any of the advertisements. I
Same.
thought,
Yeah. Apart from,
I think I like a lot of people, probably assumed this was just going to be an adaptation of Scott Pilgrim.
Yeah. And we were wrong.
We were wrong. I think it's been long enough to say, no, it is not.
Yeah, well, like, we should have really talked about this before recording. How much are we going to tap dance around the twist?
I think we're over a month out. Like, if you've researched this show at all, I think it's fair to say
by the time this goes out in the air, maybe 2 months. Who knows?
Maybe 2 months. Like, I think it's fair to say, like, you know, knowing that it is a subversion of the original material.
Yeah.
It's
not a straight adaptation of the film, nor is it a straight adaptation of the comics, which are already different from the film to begin with.
Yeah. But no, I think I think what it does is incredibly interesting. Do we want to just put up a spoiler warning and get really into it? Get really granular?
Yeah, all right.
Yeah. So
just time code, I don't know, 10 minutes from now, whatever.
Yeah. That sounds about right. I think that'll do us. But yeah, no,
fully. You come into the middle of an equally spoiler-filled Doctor Who thing, but you know, them's the breaks of it not being YouTube.
Tough one, kid. Read the description. Yes, you listening to Blanchetown Radio, read the description.
Yeah.
But no,
pull your car over, like, you know, and read the description. Yeah.
But no, I was so pleasantly surprised.
Ahoy!
When
so pleasantly surprised
when Dara showed up.
I think so. Hello. Welcome.
Hello.
Well,
Dara, we'll catch up with you in a second. We're just about to talk Scott Pilgrim.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
Have you seen it?
No.
I'm prepared to have it spoiled. Go, Kev.
Well, Scott Pilgrim dies at the end of the first episode.
Oh, I thought you were going to like build up to that.
No.
Spoilers alert, everybody.
Hey, Dara, we spent like a minute giving that before you came in.
Okay, good. I just wanted to say, you know.
We're not.
Snape kills Dumbledore nonsense there.
Well, see, that was justified.
I thought you were going to finesse it a wee bit.
No, like it's as blunt as it is in the show, and that's like it knocks you off guard. That's episode 1. Go from there.
It's worth pointing out. Episode 1 is a fairly faithful recreation of the first 20 odd minutes of the film.
Yeah, and that's why it's so great that like when he bursts into coins and the credits start rolling, you're like, what is happening? But no, the show takes a really interesting angle and divests that into a character study of what these characters are like without Scott and without all of the events preceding that. And winds itself around into a wonderful ending about finding yourself and loving yourself without being a dork about it.
People listening won't get the benefit of Kev's like desperate hand gestures.
Trying my best
for the word literally in midair.
Trying my best to keep this on at 5. Because that like it's when they changed what the show was about, I had my concerns initially because Scott Pilgrim, more the comic. Jeez, I'm going on a full hour right now. Like the comic more than the movie is very much about being a sucky early 20-year-old, and learning to just be at least a little less sucky.
And I think the film, which I'm more familiar with the film than the comics, but I have read the comics. The film does, I think, a really underappreciated trick of setting you up to think that Scott Pilgrim is a relatively nice, relatable character. And it quietly sets up all of these, like, for lack of a better word, flags in the background that don't really pay off until near the end of the film. Do you know what I mean? There is that sort of like, it's working on several layers of morality, like.
Oh, 100%. And listen, you're talking as somebody who adores Edgar Wright as a filmmaker. I would never say underappreciated. That movie is a masterpiece. There's no.
Oh, I meant that particular aspect of it. It's not that like Ramona has done loads of shady things and Scott is like this like perfect individual. he is also doing bad things to Knives, to the drummer one, to his friends. It's just that the movie isn't highlighting them and sort of blames you for not noticing too.
Yeah, like the where Scott is categorically a bad dude in the comic, and like it's not left up to any amount of interpretation. He sucks. The movie, especially particularly just being a live action piece of media, humanizes him into realizing, well, that's a person I know I'd actually get on with and like hanging around. And then you kind of peel back that layer of like, but no, he really sucks though.
Yeah.
But anyway, because that's kind of like
no, hold on a minute. Hold on. I'm in the middle of eating rice at the moment, so right. In the movie, he's dating a teenager.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
he's actually a horrible person from the get-go. And like I see where you're coming from, but no, man. I mean, even though I like Michael Cera, I'm like, whoa, you're a terrible person.
I just meant Dara in terms of the framing. Like, we get lots of episodic explanations and apologies from Ramona about why she is the way she is. But Scott doesn't examine his own behavior until about the time the fourth X turns up, is what I mean.
That's because he's a terrible person. And terrible people aren't aware they're terrible people.
Is deliberately keeping that to the sides until it points it out later, you know?
Oh, I can see that.
I'm not defending Scott. I'm saying the film pulls a trick.
Yeah. And again, you know, the movie and the comic are about him being abominable and learning to just be at least a little less so by the end of it. And which is, I think it is essential reading for anybody in college because it will.
That's actually fair. That's actually fair.
Because it will shine a spotlight on aspects of your life. Anyway, but what I was getting at, because the movie kind of subverts that, kills Scott in the first episode, it kind of stops becoming about that.
Yes.
And starts becoming more of a character study of the characters in this universe.
Yeah, and one thing I love about this, and I'm trying to think of another example of a story that does this. The only one I can think of is maybe Undertale or something. But like, the real joy of the conceit of this is you spend a lot of time with the X's who are only really obstacles in the books and the movie. You get to see them like mix and match and see how they get on, and you realize how much you are missing out on in the original media, you know?
Yeah. Oh, it fully fleshes them out into well-rounded three-dimensional people and the kind of the woven webs of interpersonal relationships therein. One of my favorite sequences is the 20 minutes that Lucas and Gideon are left in what's her face's house and just build a skate ramp.
Yes, you beat me to it. Yeah.
And then oh god, what's the first X's name? Matthew Patel becoming like becoming the kingpin of it all. Like that's a lot of kind of really fun dynamics. And then the show gets just like incredibly meta in that they try to adapt,
basically.
They try to adapt the story of Scott Pilgrim's life post-mortem if he didn't die, which becomes the movie that
directed by Edgar Wrong.
It's fantastic. And then so on top of kind of all of that really just interesting subversion and character study, the one thing that was a red flag was the announcement that they would be getting the entire cast back to voice, because I'm hesitant about a lot of like Hollywood actors.
I know you've talked before about like kind of A-listers being given voice actor roles that aren't like career voice actors, like
that. Like they're two different skill sets.
Yeah, although I will point out the one who plays the fourth X has done more voice acting than like on camera acting.
Oh,
she's 100%. From Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Yeah, but on that, Kev, I see where you're coming from, but this is like a reprisal of a role rather than them taking roles away.
Yeah, no, absolutely in that sense. But I like it's more. I wasn't sure because it's a slightly different way of performing. So even though they're playing the same character, they're playing them in a different sense.
Yeah,
in a different.
You can tell
medium.
Sarah has to heighten his performance a little bit to meet
that's
the
the
energy
thing,
of the
is
animation and all that.
given that, I'm surprised at how well the performance is carried.
Mm.
Even some of the kind of the highlights. Michael Cera knocks it out of the park. I think he could do actual voice work. And the same goes with Chris Evans. I did not think Chris Evans would be one of my favorite parts of this.
Mm.
But he, like, I mean, it definitely helps that he has, like, just real bastard energy. Like, Knives Out has typecast him as a real jerk, and he plays that sort of character. If you're
Captain America, you can only go down, really.
Yeah, so like, oh no, but he plays somebody you hate wonderfully.
Yeah.
And then
he was casting this before Captain America, wasn't he?
Yeah. This would have been, if not before, definitely around the same time.
I remember thinking, oh, that's the Human Torch guy, certainly. Yeah.
But no, like he brings a bit of that to Lucas Lee and just kind of cranks up the arrogance a bit, and it's absolutely wonderful.
Well, you say that. I was more impressed with Brandon Routh because has to push himself with his character without giving away too many spoilers. Very far out of his comfort zone of the character he played before. This is the third X. The one who's going out with the pop singer, like.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, we get a Brie Larson song, which is great because I thought the Brie Larson song from the original film was like a little like underappreciated highlight.
Yeah, it's
like,
one of my favorite. It's one of my favorite parts of the whole thing.
Yeah.
What do you mean? Black Sheep is a treasure.
It is a treasure, but no one like talks about it.
I talk about it.
Well, maybe I just have the wrong friends.
Yes,
we're your friends.
Yes, that is true. But I mean like important stuff.
No, I think
like if I go to the teachers, like I work with them, like, hey, what's your favorite Clash of Demon Head song? From a fictional band, fictional show based on a fictional movie of a fictional comic.
All this means, Keen, is we're your cooler friends.
There you go.
But yeah, to kind of go back to something that we touched on when we were talking Songbird the Stakes, I do think that well, obviously it being a prequel, you could jump in. I don't know. I'd be so fascinated to see how this reads to somebody who hasn't watched or read the original.
Yeah, that's a good point.
It feels like something that is so hinged on being a derivation that I think it feels like you'd be lost without it.
Yeah, like you wouldn't get all the references to the original movie, and you just sort of, it's a bit, obviously Ramona's kind of the anchor of the story, but it is a bit, if you don't have that context, it is a bit rudderless, isn't it?
It feels it. It does, yeah.
Which is not a criticism for me, but you're right. It'd be fascinating to like, you know, now having said that, like, I watched it with my infant son and he just liked all the colors.
Well, that's,
so maybe there's like all the pretty animation and the fights and the music and all that.
Well, that's another thing. It is an extremely beautiful show.
Oh, yeah, sure. The fourth X and Ramona fight through films.
Oh, God, yeah.
And that's one of the less memorable sequences.
The entire like 3D animated skateboarding sequences are just jaw-dropping. This is, I don't have any key animators' names in front of me, but Science Saru, who does a lot of Masaki Uesa's work, we're the animation team here. They Night is Young, Walk On Girl, Tatami Galaxy, Devilman Crybaby was them.
That was a gorgeous show, yeah.
Yeah, no, incredible animation. Weirdly, actually, because I again don't have the name of the guy in front of me. Because it's his studio, but it's not Uesa. He doesn't seem to be involved. He's probably working on another project at the time.
Right.
So they got one. It was one of the key animators that's worked on most of his stuff. Stepped up to be the showrunner on this.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's a Spanish guy. Actually, seems like a Spanish Japanese native. I'll actually see if I can find the name.
Okay,
but like that's it. Like what it tells me is that is a company that is an animation studio that is like garnering talent and like building them to be top class animators in their own right. Abel Gongora is his name. But yeah, no. If you have read or watched the original, yes, go watch this. It's fantastic. If you haven't, I would recommend going to read the comics. Just in general, as I said, I think essential for anybody blooming into adulthood. Go learn some lessons about yourself, and don't date a teenager.
Unless you're a teenager.
Unless you're a teen. No,
and
but
even then, maybe not.
This is to people in their 20s. And above. Let's not decategorize that.
Well, you know what? Let's actually, like, Knives does so much better. Like, they kind of downplay that because the film's done it already. But, like, Knives does so much better out of this than in the film or the comic. Like,
we need to get a t-shirt for Kev. You know,
don't date teenagers.
Don't date teenagers. And look, as like Nerd to Know Media merch.
No,
don't date teenagers.
What's wrong with you?
I think that's a good message, Kane.
It is a good message. I don't want it to be what people think about when they look at me.
Hey, Keane, don't date teenagers.
Exactly, life lessons.
That's one of those things that probably shouldn't need to be pointed out.
And yet,
it quite clearly is.
Go read Scott Pilgrim.
Exactly.
No, teenagers, go make an epic musical about a failed film script. Go do that instead.
Oh yeah, of course. It was that I fully thought you were like leading me up to another topic. I was like, I don't remember talking.
No.
Indie musical. What's no? You're talking about Scott Pilgrim. Yes.
Yeah. And actually, before we move on, I noticed Easter eggs to the video game. I think the whole who's the skateboarder X, the Chris Evans one.
Oh, Lucas
Lee. I remember it was a thing in the game that you could knock out the paparazzi and get coins, and that becomes a huge part of this, isn't it?
Oh yeah, and the whole franchise is kind of Ouroboros itself in that way, in a good way, where because the video game is in itself a fundamental part of Scott Pilgrim, to the point where the band that composed the music for that, Anna Managuchi, composed then the music for this series.
I was wondering how they factored into it. Okay,
yeah, that's the soundtrack is them,
right?
Also, go read Scott Pilgrim. Go listen to Anna Managuchi. They're amazing.
Oh, their opening song is amazing in the show.
That's not them now. That's I can't remember the name of the band. That's a J-rock band, but the score.
But the score is great too. Yeah.
One of their instruments is a hacked Nintendo Entertainment System. They're a fantastic band.
Oh my god! Well
remember, don't date children.
Don't date children.
Oh my god! Right. No clever segue, but an urgent segue. Dara, have you seen the new Doctor Who's yet?
Oh god!
Worst thing
ever.
What is wrong with you? Have you seen it?
Yeah, worst thing ever.
You actually watched it?
Yeah.
I'm genuinely amazed and slightly impressed.
Yeah, no, I mean, when that thing was having its chat and it's like, oh, I'm this, and you're like, oh, please stop.
Wait, have you seen both of them?
Yeah, no, I hate them both.
Really? I was kind of like 7 out of 10 on the first one, but I love the second one.
No, I think it's time to put the old girl down.
I will not take that from a Star Wars fan. Are you kidding me?
Hold on. I've been saying for a long time that Star Wars need to,
This is true.
Dara's got 2 bullets ready.
I got 2 bullets ready, exactly. And I've been saying about the Star Wars one for a while, so I will not sit here and put up with that. But oh man,
Battle Royale head-to-head thing. I knew this was going to happen.
All
right.
My question, Kane. My question, Kane, on this is: after everything where everyone's like, right, where you need to knock this out of the park, it needs to be good, and they bring back everybody, and David Tennant's there, and I was like, oh, this is great. And then they double down, and you're like, "Oh my god!" So like nothing has been learned, and it's really
double
upsetting.
Down on what though? You're being very cryptic.
No, I'm not. The nonsense. The reason why people don't like Doctor Who is because the writing is so bad and it's very message heavy.
But it's always been nonsense.
I know, but nonsense can have. Look, there's fun nonsense, right? Like Star Wars at its most part when it's being silly, like Doctor Who, it can't be good nonsense. Looney Tunes are nonsense, right? Even a lot of Disney's nonsense, and then there's like messagey nonsense, and you're like, right, not only is this not fun, you're shoving this that your absolute nonsense down my throat, and I'm just like, I can't
I will
anymore.
admit it's not subtle, but I wasn't
It's not
expecting
subtle.
subtlety from something that had Beep the Meep in it as its
See,
villain.
this is the thing, right? I mean, I think the biggest problem with Doctor Who was, yeah, it was always silly and low budget and fun, and yeah, it's always been very left and progressive, which is great, and I mean that's brilliant. But I think they lost their way where instead of being subtle or having something clever to say, they're like, here's exactly what we're gonna say, and you're like, oh my god,
I
you're
don't
not.
think that's true, though. I find
It is
the
true.
second
It
episode
is true.
especially incredibly subtle with his character work.
Well, look, I will give you the second one is a lot better, but I think this is like, I don't know. Look, I know you guys are bigger fans of this than me, but if I was writing this, what I would have done is I would have like done a hard reset to where it's just fun nonsense for like 4 or 5 episodes. You're bringing a new fella, they have a good time, and then you can let that settle in. But by just going back to more beating people over the head with nonsense, it's like I just want it to be fun. That's all I want. I just want Doctor Who to be fun. Why can't it be fun? Keen, why can Doctor Who not be fun?
I am having fun.
Yeah, but you like Jodie Whittaker. Like, I mean, Kev, why can't Doctor Who be fun? Please tell me.
No
Please tell
dog
me.
in this race. I stopped watching halfway through Peter Capaldi.
I'll
but
let you know as soon as you take a breath and let me talk.
I stopped the Peter Capaldi too because that went the other way and it was just never fun and no nonsense. And I'm like, I just wanted to be fun.
I got bored of futzing around with the BBC iPlayer, so that's mostly my problem.
Yeah, that's
All right.
another thing.
Well, look, to
Sorry.
answer your question, like it's you're kind of got two things you've kicked in the air there, which is, and I'll say this before I get into what I liked about it and what you seem to take against. The two things in the air is the Whittaker era to the public at large is an upside down car on fire in a ditch. So you can't just start again. You need to kind of like get people back feeling the feeling of Doctor Who again. You need to kind of go back to basics a bit. The second problem is, or the issue they have to work around is your man Gatwa is finishing the series 4 of Sex Education, so he isn't available to come back. That's why Tennant is here. He's here to do half a season so they can have a Doctor Who for the 60th while he's not available. So you've kind of got those two things in the air. Now, as far as the episodes themselves, like the first one is just a sort of a season 4 revival episode. It's technically adapted from a comic, but that's not really what it is. And the second one's a weird, creepy, midnighty, like body horror type one about two people locked on a spaceship. Like, you're getting an anniversary trilogy just to get people excited for the franchise again without actually moving it forward just yet. And I get where you're coming from, that it'd be great to just start again, new guy, new things, all that kind of stuff. But realistically, I don't think that's possible with the landscape that Doctor Who existed. I mean, you just essentially gestured at the fact that I like Jodie Whittaker and that invalidated my opinion. And we're friends. That's how toxic this all is, you know?
No, it's not that it invalidates it. It's just it colors it because it's like.
But you see what I mean, though? That's a casual example, and we're not even angry at each other. Like,
of course not. No, Keane, I could never be angry at you. Stop.
Well, thank you.
but no, I mean, it's just kind of like coming from somebody who has checked out of Doctor Who, even before Jodie Whittaker, because I just really didn't like Capaldi, which I mean, some people love him, but it's just. I think they went so far with Jodie Whittaker and the writing wasn't like my problem not so much isn't with the messaging. I don't really care that much. It's that the writing doesn't have it's like okay, it's like someone has an ice cream, right? And it's a really awesome ice cream, right? But you need to walk through pits of sand and snakes to enjoy it. And that's kind of what it's like. And you're like, oh, I want the ice cream. And now what they've done is they've removed the ice cream completely and have a carrot there. So you need to walk through sand and snake to get the carrot.
I'm sorry. Could you be more specific? Because, like, I get that, like, the Star Beast, the first one, was a little bit like so-so, but like, I watched it, and yeah, it's not subtle in like surrounding the kind of the trans character and all that kind of stuff. But like, what is it is essentially just a romp between a furry ET thing and some insect looking people. Like, what is it that has you so aggravated specifically?
It's not that I'm aggravated. Again, I don't really. I have no dog in the fight here. You
Right.
know, as far as like, I mean, I can take it or leave it, really. Because I have checked out. I mean, once Matt Smith left, I was kind of like, all right, whatever. And then it just got worse. It's just kind of like, I guess what I wanted from Doctor Who was the sense of this is a big adventure, we're going somewhere, and it doesn't really seem to be doing that. It's kind of like, as you said, I think you actually hit the nail on the head, Kane. I think I've been expressing this wrong. You said they made an episode just to have Doctor Who, and that's what it feels like. And that to me, that sums it up more than anything else. What I was expecting, and it might happen with the new Doctor, but I just don't think it will. I mean, this was the chance to really start building goodwill again. We're like, look, we're just gonna have a good time. It's gonna be like, the 10th Doctor all over again. Isn't it wonderful? In this, it's just kind of like, oh yeah, hey, here we are. It's like when you go see a band and they're like all old and broken down, but they still need the money, and that's kind of what it's like. It's just not fun anymore. It's kind of sad.
So, like, is the problem that it's not creating the feeling that you used to have?
I think so.
Doctor Who.
Yeah, I think it's a combination of everything. Some of it might be the toxicity that surrounds it. That's absolutely a case, and you have brought that up. That's like very true. Two, it's like what I was expecting was kind of like a wipe the slate clean moment. And three, it's just again, yeah, it's kind of sad. It's like, a lot of people want to see Ozzy play, and I've seen Ozzy play about 20 years ago, and it was awesome. Don't particularly want to see Ozzy play now.
I get what you mean about the white play now thing.
This Kev, this is exactly my point. And Doctor Who can't be Doctor Who anymore. They just need to like go somewhere or call something else.
But that's the thing. They are going to do something new when the new guy turns up on Christmas Day. It's like we're kind of agreeing on the same thing here.
Yeah,
which is that essentially it's doing what the 50th anniversary was, but in 3 TV outings. It's sort of.
But and
personally, I quite like the fact that it's not like, oh, here's old doctors again. Or isn't it funny that we're all here together? And here's a bunch of people from 10 years ago. Whoosh! I like that it's actually its own strange little bubble story,
And you know what? I think what might happen here is when the new Doctor comes, and if it's good, this could like a lot of this could be put in a good way. But it's more just kind of like because it has because they screwed the pooch so much over the past couple of years with it, they really had to knock this out of the park. And it's kind of like they didn't. It's just less bad.
But I don't think it is bad.
Yeah, but Jodie Whittaker.
See what I mean? There it is again.
I know, but that's what I mean.
It is again. Look, let me see if I can find a middle ground here, because I'm sure there's other stuff we can talk about. But like, Doctor Who has 2 types of things, 2 types of episodes, and 2 types of audience. And you'll know this yourself from doing the Matt Smith, which is you've got Doctor Who fans and television viewers. Yeah. And the television viewers checked out ages ago.
Yeah, that's fair.
And they need to come back.
Yeah,
then you've also got
that's really fair.
Doctor Who series and Doctor Who Christmas specials. And there are people who very reasonably just watch it on Christmas Day and never any other time. I know people who watch soaps the same way because they know that someone is going to get blown up on EastEnders every Christmas Day.
You know what? I think that's probably it. Yeah.
I think before you interrupt there, I think these 3 episodes are really geared at bringing people who haven't seen it since David Tennant or maybe Matt Smith in, and just saying, here's all the characters, here's what this show could do with its new budget, its new kind of heightened thing, it's Disney money, and if you like the look of it, Doctor Who proper is starting next year. So as an extended teaser for itself, I think it's succeeding at what it's doing.
Oh my God, that's probably what it is. Are Disney making this?
They're not making it, but they are distributing it internationally. They're not involved in the writing process. It's all run
Dara,
by
the BBC aren't
own
letting
company.
Disney take this.
But they are.
This is what I'm saying. I'm like, this would make a lot of sense because Disney ruin everything they touch.
No. I won't take that. They aren't like involved in like the writing process. They just host it because the iPlayer is a global. Ireland, this is worth actually because a friend of mine has texted me about this several times. Ireland is messed around on Doctor Who both ways because all the rest of the world except BBC and all the world except for Ireland and the UK are going to get Doctor Who on the Disney Plus thing, whereas people in the UK are getting Doctor Who on the iPlayer. We got nothing.
Well,
what? I mean, I've got DVDs. I don't mind, but morally,
yeah. So that's kind of the biggest thing that stopped me from even attempting to catch up, even just to see what's going on. Accessibility. Like I've no want to go trolling for files for however many seasons. If it's on a streaming service, I'd catch up.
Here's the thing. It's probably better that it's put to sleep. Just be like, okay, sleepy time.
Speak for yourself. This is my ride or die franchise.
Yeah, but you need to get off it sometime. Like Star Wars for me is my ride or die, and I'm always just like, someone put it down, please. It's like that. It's like that bit from South Park. It's like, oh, stop the reactor.
Okay.
I know, but Star Wars is one big ongoing saga. Doctor Who reinvents itself every 2 or 3 years, even when it's successful.
Into something that's worse every time.
Okay, Kian, I'm gonna volunteer myself to take the heat off of you and rile Dara up a bit myself.
No, this is not fair. This is not what this show is.
No. Dara, on the minute.
Yes.
So since I think we've last talked, I finished Cyberpunk 2077.
Oh, wonderful! What a game!
Oh, really? I thought the last time I talked to you, you spun out in a mess and had to go to bed because you're too angry.
Yeah, no, I mean, but I have willed myself to enjoy this game, and now the DLC has been released, and they've actually fixed it.
That's it. I have now. Caveat: I didn't play the DLC. I did. Because I got the game for free several months ago off a friend of mine. I got his PS4 copy, and then eventually it was when Idris Elba put out was in an advertisement literally saying the game is fixed now.
Yeah, and it is.
Like, I should probably plug that in and play that now.
See, I actually, so for anyone listening here, so here was my journey with Cyberpunk. It's the last game I pre-ordered, which you should never do because it always disappoints you. The time before it was Watch Dogs, so you can tell my disappointment.
Oh yeah, no, rule of thumb: always buy a game a year later at half the price.
Absolutely.
I just did that with God of War. Best experience.
Oh no, absolutely. What happened? So here's what happened, right? So just to catch people up, I bought it on the PS4. It did not run. It was a horrible train wreck. Then I got halfway through, willing myself through all the glitches. Then they released the patch that fixed it. It bricked the game, and I had to transfer everything over to the PS5, and then continue playing the game, the PS4 version on a PS5 after doing transference, and I put something like 25 hours in it.
You finished it then?
Yeah.
That's it. That, you know what? That doesn't sound too wrong. I was surprised actually at how quickly I went into this thinking, great, this is my game up till Christmas, basically.
No, it's very quick.
It's very streamlined.
Yeah, it's very quick.
Now I definitely think I missed some stuff. I know that it is shockingly easy to just fail out of entire quest lines if you don't know any better.
I have a game for you that would actually be a good counterpoint, Kev.
Now, you see, I have already dipped back into Baldur's Gate.
No, hold on. And it's not only for you; it's kind of for anybody who had this experience with Cyberpunk. Because I have the DLC. I'm playing through it. The game is fixed. It actually is a good experience. However, there's a much more streamlined game that you can just lose hours in. That's actually a lot better. And believe it or not, it's the new RoboCop game.
You've been talking about this for weeks.
Yeah. I have been hearing good things. Actually,
it's so good. It has no right to be as good as it is. It's just phenomenal.
Well, it's phenomenal. The same. It's the same team that made the two Terminator games, right?
Yeah, the good ones.
Which like that's like I think RoboCop has the benefit of like having a decent experience background. Those Terminator games came out of nowhere, were pretty discounted licensed games, and were really fun and interesting first-person shooters.
Absolutely, and I think this is very much the same kind of way. Like, but with the Cyberpunk issue, it's like it had a lot of expectations, and it still does. And I mean, to be honest with you, like the GTA 6 trailer came out, and people are freaking out over it. I'm like, listen, I've already experienced this. It's called Cyberpunk. It's a phenomenal game. Go and play it. That's why I won't even be buying GTA 6, because I'm like, I don't care. And Baldur's Gate does the same thing. I'm like, although I think Cyberpunk is a lot more.
I wouldn't compare Baldur's Gate and Cyberpunk. There's
no. Obviously, no. I mean, but from the controversy standpoint, let's put it that way. And I just really, 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 really like Cyberpunk. So I mean, GTA 6 is very similar in that sense, where I'm like, yeah, I've already experienced this, and a similar kind of game. But with RoboCop, it's kind of a much more streamlined but deeper game than Cyberpunk in a weird way. You know, I mean, like it actually gives you a quest. The hub system it's smaller. It's like Deus Ex Mankind Divided, if you've ever played that. I have 72 hours of Mankind Divided, and it is a small area, but it's really, really deep. And Cyberpunk doesn't have that. GTA 6 will have it, obviously, because of all the stuff they'll bolt onto it.
Oh, stuff! That game is going to be bloated.
Yeah, absolutely.
Love it.
Yeah. I mean, I'll probably with on that one, Kev. I'm going to wait probably a year for all it comes out, and then I'll buy it.
You know, I
but RoboCop is one. But
Yeah.
RoboCop is one I'd recommend people go out and get now, because it's a fixed, phenomenal experience that you'll love. It's really good now. It's very cheaply made. Like it doesn't look like a PS5 game, but
but I think like I think we need to really start like bringing back this idea of the mid-tier game.
It is very a mid-tier game, yeah.
Because
really
like that's it's something, because you don't like there like we've been missing this the past like two kind of console generations, where there was just this gulf between, you know, small local produced indie darling and massive polished AAA game, and there was nothing in between. You were either spending 20 quid
that's why I felt like there were a lot more PlayStation 2 games back in the day.
There were,
because
they were all kind of in that little mid zone, like
because smaller studios were able to crank out just a bunch of low poly like shooters that lasted 10 hours, and that was a game.
Some of it was bad, some of it was great.
And we missed that with a lot, like with as the technology for better quality graphics got more expensive and less accessible. But the quality for pixel art graphics and a lot of 2D assets got a lot cheaper and more accessible. That gulf started just kind of like widening for quite a while there. Now we're seeing that kind of close again, where 3D rendering software is becoming a bit more accessible as the nostalgia spiral kind of loops itself back around to now. We're seeing a lot of nostalgia for the PS1 era. So we're getting a fistful of like low poly 3D platformers and the like. One of my most anticipated games now upcoming is a fan game called Bloodborne Kart. Exactly what you think it is. But that's like, so we're like, I'm delighted to hear things like RoboCop, where you're not expecting the world and half from it. So when it delivers like a 7 out of 10, but only cost you 40 quid, you're like, yeah, this is great.
Yeah, and here's the thing. I paid a little bit more because it had like some bonuses in it. I was not disappointed. It's one of the best gaming experience that I had out of the gate, compared to like pretty much anything since Watch Dogs 2, where that was just a surprise completely. But definitely in the past couple of years, Cyberpunk burned me badly. And so the Watch Dogs, the initial one, burned me. Oh, and 3. Never, ever, ever play Watch Dogs 3. It is genuinely the worst game I've ever played.
But you kind of, by tapping into that, you kind of highlight the fact that obviously, like, kind of there's the AAAs and the tiny kind of things, but like, you've also got the fact that DLC exists,
and the DLC is even better
to buy in the first place.
Yeah, the DLC is actually better.
Online components are a huge thing. So, like, as an outsider to all this, it feels like a game is a much bigger time and financial commitment that it used to be, which is time you're not spending playing lots of, like you say, 10-hour games and stuff.
Well, that's another thing we're seeing just completely blow up on itself, because part and parcel with that emptied gulf between indie and AAA was the attempted launch of like live service games. And that's a whole industry that is just collapsing on themselves, because anybody with
was like a quarter finished.
Anybody with a brain cell could have told you that not every company can make a forever game. There's a handful that are going to work, but you won't make that because Destiny is already there and has been.
But it's like winning the lottery. You only need to get it once to be fine forever. Like, so they couldn't all try it.
And it's called Fortnite.
Exactly.
Well, there you go. There's another example. Yeah.
Well, that's it. And like, now that I think so many of like all the biggest companies have lost so much money trying to be Fortnite, a lot of them are kind of realizing that and stop ixnaying that. Some are still trying because some companies don't have any self-awareness. Looking at like Activision, but like where there was a proliferation of that we saw about not even 5 years ago. That is finally just becoming a singularity with itself and collapsing. So we're probably going to see still a lot of multiplayer stuff, because that's, common and that's infinite money for them. But we'll probably see like a lot more kind of just focused single player stuff, because that's what the people want, and that's what like the highest critically rated games of the past X amount of years have been. Again, see Baldur's Gate.
Yeah.
Well, that I believe brings us to time for the show.
Ev's Uber has arrived. Taking him somewhere else.
Yeah, no, I'm just gonna. Yeah, that's been a show, guys. I'll see you guys later.
I finally remembered what I wanted to compare the Scott Pilgrim anime to, which is the most recent No Way Home Spider-Man. You know, the way you got to hang out with like Sandman and Electro and see them kind of shooting the breeze, not locked into that hero villain one versus one thing. That's what the X's in that show gave me. It was like, oh, when we actually take the formula out of this, you're all pretty cool people to hang out with. How nice.
You're all a good bunch of lads.
I'll buy all of you a pint.
The Sinister Six, a great bunch of lads.
A great bunch of lads.
Never a day goes by where I don't think of one of Doc Ock's pearls of wisdom.
I've stayed up in the pub many a night with Electro.
Of course, there are no Sandmen on Craggy Island.
Okay, we're cutting it. We're cutting it there. We can't. Thank you all for listening. Check out all of our stuff on nerdtoknowmedia.com. There you'll find all links to all of our socials.
We have loads of shows. We have loads of shows.
You can go check out the backlog of all the shows. They're all really great. You can also find our Patreon there. Support us if you like us. And with that, we will see you all next week. Thank you and goodbye.
Bye. Alright, so you're listening to the podcast, you're like, hey, I'm not in Ireland, how do I get in touch? Well, TuneIn has you covered. That's how you can check us out live when we're on the radio. You go to TuneIn and download the app, or you can check out the live streams on nerdtoknowmedia.com or Phoenix 92.5 FM. If you want to get in contact with us, it's very easy. Nerd to Know Media everywhere. Nerd to Know Media on Twitter, Nerd to Know Media Instagram, Nerd to Know Media on Twitch, Nerd to Know Media @gmail.com if you want to reach out via email. Hope to hear from you soon. Check out the Wrestling Rewind here on Phoenix 92.5 FM every Tuesday at 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. And of course over on nerdtoknowmedia.com, the only wrestling podcast by wrestling fans who don't hate wrestling. We'll see you then.
Hey Dara, what are you doing over there in Ireland? Like with the freaking leprechauns and everything. That's not cool. You should be over here with the cosplayers. At least then you could, like, I don't know, pretend like you got, I don't know, some kind of thing going on. Yeah, with you give me a Brooklyn Blaze. Yeah, with you. Dara. Yeah, Dara. Why ain't you over here with Joey? Anyway, we missed you, dude. So, it's Bill Karibo saying, we love you.
I love it. All I do.
Thank you for listening to a Nerd to Know Media production.